A Thousand Pansies. I started that when all of the legislation was coming down the pike around trans people being attacked, essentially. I was waking up feeling just really upset. I wanted to do something.
Say like, thank you for speaking with me today. Do you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself and what shop you work at?
Sure. My name is Cedre Csillagi, and I work at Diving Swallow Tattoo in Oakland, California.
And where were you born and raised?
I was born in Houston, Texas, and raised until I was 18 in Austin. My parents got divorced when I was around 7, and I moved to Austin and grew up there until I left. Oh, yeah,
Growing up in Texas,
the
in
South.
Austin.
I know. I mean,
And
Austin's
yeah,
pretty cool.
it's cool. I wonder, like, yeah, like just in a nutshell, like your background. 'Cause I imagine Austin is maybe different back then, or
My parents divorced at 7, and so my mom had full custody of us, but my dad flew in and out. He was a banker and then became like working for the government investigating banks for a while until he retired. And my mom had many jobs. She was a probation officer when I was younger, and then when my brother was born when I was 10, she had a daycare in our house. My stepdad ended up opening up a driving range. He had that job going on. So my first job actually was striping balls at the driving range. That was
Hmm.
I got a quarter a ball. They moved to Matagorda, this small town in Texas, after I left the house, and then they spent a lot of their days mowing lawns. That was their job.
Were they religious?
It's kind of a longer story. My dad was not. They met because of Christian Science. My mom was heavily Christian Scientist. So I was raised in that religion because I lived with my mom, and I stopped being Christian Scientist around 15. But I got all my shots and stuff. My dad took me and got all the shots during that time. It's a longer story as to how my dad and his side of the family are Christian Scientists because my grandmother and escaping the war in Hungary, and she ended up meeting somebody in Venezuela, and they ended up in the Christian Science Church after like basically fleeing 3 countries before she hit America. So yeah,
Very interesting.
yeah, I
That's
would
a
love
different interview.
a different interview. Yeah, but
Yeah.
generational trauma is definitely a part of my childhood for sure through my dad.
Did you end up attending college after that, or?
Yeah, actually, my dream as a child was to become a professional soccer player. Late 90s in Texas really wasn't a thing, especially for a little queer. So I did get a full ride to a small town in Texas as a soccer player, but I was the only queer one on the team. And so I left after a semester
Hmm.
and worked at a bagel shop in Austin for like a semester. And then I got into SFAI in North Beach, which is a small accredited art school, and studied sculpture. Actually, I got my BFA in sculpture there. Yeah, so that was my second passion was art, but I only pursued it after, the first failed dream of being a soccer player.
And so how did you get into tattooing then?
Yeah, I don't have the origin story that a lot of tattoo artists do, like where they dreamed of being a tattoo artist as a young kid. Like I didn't really know that many people with tattoos in my life down south. And so when I came out to go to art school, I just started seeing a lot of people with tattoos and started trying to understand, how am I going to make money as an artist? Certainly sculpture and queer, non-binary female sculptors weren't definitely at that time weren't making a ton of money. I graduated in 2001. And so one of the people that I met, one of my friends, her ex-girlfriend was tattoo artist and working out of her house. I was just like, can I learn from you? I thought I was going to bring it to the art world, actually, tattooing. But once I started to learn the craft, I just got excited and drawn into how much I had to learn. And so that was in 2000 that I started learning from her. And then I moved on to a shop after I graduated in San Francisco, at Black and Blue. And then I left Black and Blue to open up Diving Swallow in 2004, and then it took us quite some time to open up Diving Swallow in 2005.
Oh, okay. So did you know Haley Adams at the Black and Blue at that time or later?
No, Haley came after me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I Haley was like almost the next generation after
Hmm.
at Black and Blue. So I'm not sure when they landed there, but a lot of people ran through
Yeah.
Black and Blue, you know. There were not that many shops. It was Black and Blue and Sacred Rose that had female genderqueer spaces. Now there are a lot more tattoo shops in the Bay Area that have that, but that was not the case early 2000s, late 90s. So those were our options.
Yeah, so how was it just as far as like learning the technical craft? You had your first kind of mentor, which was a woman, and then go to Black and Blue. So that's, very different. The sexist hazing that most people get entering this profession. You didn't have to go through any tough guy shops.
Yeah, I mean, there were challenges. Queer spaces aren't void of that, but yeah, I never had to work with toxic masculinity in the ways that other artists did. I'm so grateful for that, actually. But before working at tattoo shops, I'd worked at bicycle shops and, pretty much any place you work at, that's inevitable. Learning to tattoo is hard. I mean, the first 5 years of learning to tattoo was awful, I would say. It's hard. It's a hard business to get into. Especially when there aren't very many places to go. At that time, there wasn't like I didn't understand how I was going to make money even in the tattoo world. At that time, 50% of the money was being taken from us. And technically learning how to tattoo was really hard. Giving people $15 tattoos and just hoping for the best. And they didn't have fake skin at that time. We tattooed on grapefruits, which is what I learned how to tattoo on in the house with my friend's ex-girlfriend. Someone at my school, my college, asked for a fucked up American flag. That was his request. And I was like, well, I can do that for you. And he was smoking the whole time. And I did a couple other tattoos, but they weren't that great, and I didn't know who to ask questions to. I became a apprentice at Black and Blue only after I was counter help for a while, and I kind of just made myself so needed that then the next opening came up and I took that spot. But that's where I met a lot of community. That's where I met my business partner Wolf, Zeph, who I work with now, and my good friend Leslie Ma and Idexa and Natalie Chandler. A lot of people who were my generation before me who were queers working for quite a long time and paving the way. Actually, Karen Rose was the first person I asked for an apprenticeship, and at that time, her shop was on Guerrero in San Francisco. But she didn't have room for an apprentice and sent me to Black and Blue.
How long were you with that first person as far as learning before you got?
6 months, eight
Oh,
months, something like that. On the regular. Yeah, it didn't work out. Like she also had another apprentice, and it got to be chaotic, and yeah, and then Black and Blue started it in, let's see, 2001, and then I was an apprentice for a year, and then I worked there for a year, something like that. Or maybe I was an apprentice for a year and worked there 2 years. It's been so long.
and so why did you come to open your own shop and not stay at that shop?
Financial was a huge piece of it because I just needed to figure out how to make a living. 50% of my money being taken was too much. There's been many reorgs, I think, over there, and things have shifted. And I mean, but that's the norm. That's not the norm anymore, but that used to be the norm at the time. So it wasn't necessarily outrageous for that shop to be doing that. It's just, early 2000 financial landscape. I wanted to create a space where artists had some kind of ability to pay a rent, work as much as you want to make what you want after that rent. And, at that time, me and a few other artists had dreams of being in a collective too. And so spent, many years trying to make that happen, but it just didn't occur. But there was a idealism that there could be like 4 to 6 of us and we could just pay the rent and then it all be equal and all that in terms of financial stuff
Mhm.
and sharing of all the things you need to do to run a business. But that is not always how things work out. So yeah, it was me and at the time 3 other artists that opened up Diving Swallow. And then that ownership changed a lot over the years to get where we are now.
So different people were in the ownership.
Yeah. Different people were in the ownership and there's been a lot of shifting around. Wolf and I have been business partners now since 2008. And then Marie Brennan was Diving Swallow wouldn't exist without Marie, actually. And she has since retired and is still working up in Shasta. I owe a lot of my career to her, I feel like, because even my botanicals, I started because she had an overflow. She is definitely like generation above me and is really amazing. I could speak about Diving Swallow a lot since we've had it open for so long, but the iteration of it, it's taken a lot to get it to where it is.
What would you say about for folks who might be interested in entering the profession, or just the pros and cons in a nutshell of like owning your own business, or these different kinds of ownership models versus just working for in someone else's shop?
I mean, if you're working in someone else's shop, you don't have to do the work to keep it going, to pay the bills, to like keep things fresh, to fix things when they're broken, all the things that you have to do when you're owning your own space. That would be a pro of working somewhere else. Working for yourself, I mean, there's so many things now. You can work in studios now. You can work in a studio by yourself now. And, because we have the internet with Instagram before, back in the day when I was a child, young tattoo artist, we had people walking in off the street. We were relying on people coming in and looking at our portfolio. I think there were websites at the time, but it wasn't like it is now where you find your artists online and then you just go to wherever they are. So
Yeah.
there's quite a lot of freedom that has started to exist because of that, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be tied to a shop necessarily, but I think you can miss out on community, the sort of in-person community that is attractive with a tattoo shop where you're not just in your own little room by yourself and only knowing people virtually. Then there's a smaller model of 2 to 5 people in a collective. And I've never worked in a collective, so I can't really speak to that. I think it takes a different kind of work, which I haven't been able to achieve so far. And Wolf and I have been business partners, like sole business partners together for quite a while now, and made it through the pandemic. I don't know how we did that, but we did. Before that was the 3 of us, me and Marie and Wolf. It just depends on what you're looking for as a tattoo artist. There's a lot of ways to go in this industry now. It just wasn't the case when I was younger. I guess the sense of community is the biggest thing with being in a shop, having a team and doing things like flash days and your holiday parties and just having people to be like, oh, what needles did you use to make that happen? Or I want to learn how to do whip shading. Like, do you know how to do it? Sort of advanced learning. That's really important. It's just also intergenerational connection among tattoo artists, I think is important. Hard to do completely online.
Right. Yeah. Aside from, I guess, maybe folks are doing guest spots and
Right,
floating.
which is also a huge thing, which is amazing. The guest spot situation is again something that's so new.
Have you done much of that?
Not a ton of it. I've guested in on the East Coast in Massachusetts once, and I've guested in Austin
Mhm.
a couple times. When I go places, I just want to be on vacation.
Right. Work.
Yeah, I mean, American culture is very workaholic. And as much as I love tattooing, I'll never learn everything there is to learn. Um, but I do love going into other shops and seeing like how people are decorating it and running it and making connections. I mean, that's the best thing about going to another place. But I haven't found that guesting makes me personally a ton of money. It's more about the connection.
Mhm.
Because I do pieces that are bigger. It takes me so long, and then you're paying a shop cut. It's oftentimes different for the guest artists, maybe, than it is for the artists that already work there. Just have to find the just right place and the just right community. And for queers, there's more and more, but it hasn't always been the case. Like in the beginning, when guesting started, I was like, oh, how am I going to feel as a sort of masculine presenting queer in a shop full of cis dudes? Now that's not as scary. It's more and more acceptable, although we have a lot of fighting still to do. But
How about that community outside of the shop then? Like, do you attend a lot of conventions or
no.
educational events?
Well, Queercation was a pretty
Yeah.
awesome event, which is where we met. Really special, but that's new. There are more artist focused conventions now. I think there's one in Portland that's supposed to be really great, and other ones, but there are a lot of them still that feel very exclusionary. I think feel like also there's some I don't even know. Like I'm just not hooked in. When Diving Swallow did convention back in 2000, I think we did one in 2007 maybe, at the Cow Palace. I can't remember what the name of that one was. It's still going. But that was an awful experience for our shop. There was this booth there called rudedudes.com, and they had just a lot of offensive things going on in like the shirts that said really messed up things. And there was another booth that was just guys in fields fighting, like on TV, just fighting. That was like the entire booth. Women walking around handing out shots, and the inebriation levels were at an all-time high. And I just felt more and more like, where are we? What's happening? I think they've leveled up some, maybe over the years, but that was my foyer into conventions. And before that, I went to Santa Rosa. There's one up there back when I was an apprentice. We just haven't, as a shop, needed that kind of coverage. It's not the only place to make connections anymore. I am open to there being some us doing more of that, but again, internet has and guest spotting has allowed people that sort of community. Like I know that there are conventions out there that are safe for queers. I know that exists now, more and more now. It didn't used to be the case. As a shop and personally, I don't attend a ton of those. And that's just, I have a 11-year-old and, trying to have a life outside tattooing as well, create community outside of tattooing. Being a tattoo artist is really special. I'm not discounting any of those things in classes. And I think it's amazing when people are just trying, like hungry for knowledge and wanting to learn as much as possible. It's incredible.
Did you hear of March for Life in Florida?
Mm-mm.
Okay. It's a women's convention in Central Florida, in Orlando, Florida. And she did that for about 20 years. But
Oh,
that's
cool.
where I met like most of my original group of participants. And I went there for like 5 years or so. And so that
Okay.
was amazing to see maybe like, I don't know, 30 to maybe 50 or so artists. It
Oh, I
was
love that.
small and it was a very strong community. Like those folks, of course, were very bonded to each other. So they always came back every year. And
Oh, I love that.
yeah, it was just a really great, like, but I guess, it's like Central Florida. So that's quite a ways from Orlando. What is your style of artwork?
I do mostly realistic botanical work and painting duplications. That's my main focus. I'd love to do more food tattoos. Like I'm still waiting to tattoo that just right breakfast sandwich. I mean, I do like tomatoes on a vine, or
Mm.
I do edible things. Like I've done like food sleeves and stuff. Yeah, mostly realistic botanicals and painting duplications. So
What about your clients? Originally, there was a lot of reliance on the walk-ins, but now I'm sure that's changed. How do you find your clients?
my clients find me basically. I mean, having an Instagram page
Mhm.
has changed all the things. I mean, that's how people find us in general. And so I have people sign up for my mailing list, and then I put about 12 pieces out a year. That's how people find me. I have a website too, but Instagram is leveled up. I'm booked out about a year and a half right
Okay.
now. Pre-pandemic, it was 2 years. I just haven't had the ability to plan. I mean, it's already far. A year and a half is already pretty far, but um, I might do 2 years at some point.
That's quite a ways, yeah. So
Hmm.
can you categorize your clients like demographically? Are they any particular type of person?
They're of an older generation. I mean, I'm 45. I mean, I do tattoo younger people. I've tattooed a couple like teachers in their 20s recently, but mostly my client base is between 35 and 60,
Hmm.
something like that. You know, painting duplications, very specific desire to want something of, usually it's someone who's passed who's done the piece, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's somebody who's alive who does something very cool. I have the smallest percentage of cis white men. They're like my smallest demographic. In fact, with this Thousand Pansies project that I started, I was like, how am I going to find the cis white men to get this allyship tattoo? And I was asking my clients for their husbands. I was like, is your husband like a cis white man? Like I need someone, I need some of them to be rocking this pansy. I would say that's who I don't tattoo that much of. Not by choice, but there's just less cis heterosexual men specifically who are wanting botanicals. But again, a couple, 2 to 3 a year. But the clients that I work on are doing huge pieces that take quite a long time to do, usually like 5 or 6 sessions minimum, usually at 3 to 5 hours each, and that's spaced out over 1 to 3 months at a time on a regular basis. And
Mhm.
so there's just like a longevity piece. People are usually really connected to it, and they'll do a consultation with me, and then they'll wait like about a year.
And what is the your project, A Thousand Pansies?
A Thousand Pansies. I started that September 2022, and that was when all of the legislation was coming down the pike around trans people being attacked, essentially. I was waking up feeling just really upset. I wanted to do something other than go to a protest or just send some money to a place and not know what happens after. So I began to think about what it is I could do. When you walk down the street during the COVID times, you have this mask covering and all you see is eyes. The connection to see who's your ally is just so much less. So I wanted to create, not everybody wants to wear like a rainbow flag tattoo. So I was trying to think of an image that I could tattoo that would mark allyship. And I'm a botanical artist. And so I was trying to think of a flower that I could do. I tattoo quite a few cis heterosexual white women who want to know, they want to put money somewhere and they don't know where, and I'm maybe the only queer person that they know. So I was like directing people's money. Like I was trying to, oh, well, you can go here or you could do it here, like local Bay Area places. I started to realize, and there we're in the Bay Area. It's very queer. There's a lot of resources here, and all of the things that were coming down the pike was in the South, right at that time, like all the legislation stuff that was penalizing trans people, more specifically Black trans people, were targeted even more. Not in that legislation, but in how they're affected in that regard. And so I was wanting to do something more. So I guess my idea, it took me about 6 months to come up with it, was to create a tattoo. I chose the pansy because of many reasons. One of them is that it's an image that's been reclaimed in the queer community over the years. There's also this man, Paul Harfleet, in England, that started this project, the Pansy Project, that's incredibly beautiful. It's about 15 years ago that he started it, and he basically, him and his boyfriend at the time got attacked on the street verbally with homophobia, and he went home and decided he was going to start a project where anytime there was homophobia anywhere, even if someone was like killed, he would plant an actual pansy. It's this incredibly beautiful project where he would, even if someone had been killed, he would ask the family members permission, and he had like public planting that he did, and it's powerful. And he has a book, and he has t-shirts, and he's been all over the world. So when I found out, I decided to start this project, and then my client told me about him, and then I contacted him because I wanted to quote him in the press release. So I found an organization in Alabama that organization is predominantly Black trans people, and they help with housing and medical treatment, all kinds of things. The Knights and Orchid Society. I basically said to them, I asked them if they would be open to being recipients of the project. Essentially, you send $500 there, and in return, you get a tattoo artist tattooing for, for free, like volunteering their services to do it. The pansy. It's called 1,000 Pansies because I'm trying to collectively make 1,000 pansies. So I'm trying to get one tattoo artist per state. We have so many now. Like we have so many. I need more tattoo artists in more states. If you know anyone who wants to be part of the project, I'm only requiring tattoo artists to do one a month, and they have to be skilled in doing black and gray work. I have an Instagram page where I'm shouting about it, and I did last week, I did number 138. Tanner from Queercation is signed on as the pansy tattooer, and he did number 139 in Colorado, I think last week too. But the idea it's collective activism, and the project has been really powerful, honestly. I would say 3 months ago we had raised about 50 grand so far for the Knights and Orchid Society, but it's gone up. I just haven't.
Well, that's
I
amazing.
haven't had. We're like, I think we're one of the, we're a big donor for them now, and they want me to come down and maybe be there they're trying to buy their building. So I'd like to try to go down there this year and maybe even tattoo some of the staff. And also, if you can't afford a tattoo, we have people giving extra for those people who want a pansy but can't afford it. So it's been powerful. And I'm trying to get other artists to be a part of it as well. I'm the only one running the project, so I just only have so much extra time.
Right. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's a really great project though. So many artists. We have artists in a lot of places now, and I want more.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely sounds like an amazing story to have out there.
The tattoo artist interviews the client. And
Mhm.
so are those, I don't know if you've seen them, the little vignettes. They're little, asking about important things. I think those interviews are some of the best parts of the project because you get to have a voice it's not just a body
Yeah,
part. It's
right.
like a person's voice, and why are you connected to this project, and what does trans joy mean to you? And it's been connecting. People see each other at farmers markets or out in the world at parties, and then they take pictures of each other. It's just cute. The whole thing it's really helped me a lot and helped other people. I had one person tell me it saved their life recently. So it's really beautiful.
And so
But
what was your involvement in Queercation then?
so my involvement was through Leslie Ma. I flew in and did my seminar and
Attended
uh,
meetings and all
attended,
the meetings.
made a hat and attended some other seminars. I've been tattooing 24 years. Some cool people. Two of the artists became 1,000 pansy tattooers from there. But that was an incredible experience. I really enjoyed it. I'd never taught a seminar before, even a class for that matter. And I really felt like I got to express some things to community, queer tattoo community that I would have had no other place for it to go.
And what was your seminar?
It was about tattoo shop ownership.
Mm.
So some of the things I talked to you about, but just like so much more. Okay, I want you guys to be able to like see your paper if you want to take notes, because there's like a whole bunch of shit I want to tell you.
And what about your own tattoo collection? Like, when did you start personally collecting tattoos? Is there a certain kind of tattoos you collect? What is the brief story of your tattoo collection?
Oh, geez. How long do you have? Someone, not me, said that tattoos are like bringing your inside out. And I definitely think that is true. A roadmap to your life. I have so many different kinds of tattoos, and they are usually signifying some kind of momentous moment in my life. I got a swallow sleeve after we opened up Diving Swallow. It's just like such a huge deal to just put everything you have into a space and just hope it grows. One of the tattoos I got was my favorite bone that I just really don't feel like is emphasized enough. And then that became a sleeve, but this bone doesn't get a lot of attention. And I didn't have a sleeve here before, but I got my first tattoo in college at SFAI, and they were just line drawings. I got a tattoo on my leg, on actually both legs, by the person that was teaching me out of their house. Yeah, I don't love the one of them I've covered up since then. And the other one, and I covered it up because when I had my soccer shorts on, it looked like a dick, actually. So that's fun. The dyke with the dick on the shorts, with the shorts, just was like, it wasn't intentional. It was just the way it was drawn on
Mhm.
my leg. Just felt like a gay tattoo. I didn't like sign up for. For a while, I did these Miro type drawings. And so I tattooed like my mom and my sister. And then I stopped drawing like that. I got a tree. I have a huge tree on my chest. I don't know. I love every single one of my tattoos, but they're all really personal tattoos. I haven't gotten that many where I'm like, that was pretty. It's usually like some deep emotional story
Mhm.
about some moment in my life or a person, like my family. My favorite food is a peanut, like peanut butter. So
Uh-huh.
I tattooed a couple peanuts on myself, like in the shell, out of the shell, partially in the shell. I tattooed myself one time, twice. That's not true, twice. And like a branch was the first one. It's hard to tattoo yourself. I
Um,
don't know. I don't have any except for that tattoo that I covered up on my leg that it's kind of lewd. I don't have any, like, all the stories are just so personal.
Mhm.
Personal tattoo stories about things in my life.
Are you in process with any tattoos right now?
Wolf is finishing up a kingfisher on my arm. I have maybe a couple hours left on that one. I don't know if you can see it from here. Let's see.
You can
Can't
send
see it that well.
it too, yeah.
Um, we still have a little bit more to do on the bill and the feet. So that's in progress, but I haven't really wanting to get a nudibranch tattoo from Tanya, one of my other pansy tattooers in San Francisco, but only because I just love nudibranchs and I've been wanting one for a long time. They're incredible creatures. They're sea slugs. I don't know if you've seen pictures of them.
Oh, and do you have anything to say about like reactions to your tattoos or people's reaction in general? Like I started my research so long ago now that that was a big deal, but now I feel
Mhm.
like that's not even, especially depending on where you live and, your profession and stuff. But any comments on that topic in general, just overall?
Well, going back to the South and being queer has always, in the past, has always been a thing. And I definitely, in the last 20 years, have had reactions to me. Sometimes I can't tell if it's because I'm, non-binary and kind of masculine presenting, or if it's because of my tattoos. In the South, that's like if someone's come with me and they're like, "Oh, everyone's staring at you." I used to get stared at a lot in Austin because of, I'm not sure, one of those two things, maybe both. It's not as wild to be tattooed in Austin anymore. There's so many people who have tattoos there, and there's just a lot more queers. Yeah, I definitely don't get any looks here in the Bay Area. It's just not even a thing. I feel a little bit boring here, just which is it's relieving actually to just be one of many and not stand out in that way. I am covered up a lot. So I'll tell people I'm a tattoo artist and they're like, they always look at me like, really? Because they just think I don't have any tattoos because I'm wearing like a long sleeve flannel shirt and pants. In Texas, it gets hot. And so you have less clothes on. But yeah, I don't get a ton of reactions anymore. Doesn't feel like a thing. I'm also getting older and, going to different places and, parenting and going to people's houses for dinner. I just, people you already know you're tattooed or
Yeah.
don't really care.
Do you have any comments just on the future of tattooing or the profession itself? Advice to young newcomers?
That's such a good question. I think if you're going to learn, it's important to to get tattooed and to find people who you can relate to in the industry. There's like so many people now. I mean, the industry is saturated with so many different kinds of tattoo artists. You can definitely find people to mentor you. If you're wanting to learn how to tattoo, I just would say stick to it, keep drawing and keep finding your voice within your drawings and find the person who can't wait to bring you into the fold. In terms of where the industry is going, I mean, it's already blown my mind where tattooing has gone. It's like sometimes I see tattoos online that people have done and I just like can't even understand how they do that.
Mhm.
Especially if they do it in like 5 hours, some giant back piece in like 5 hours. Just like, what I don't even understand. I guess I hope for more in-person connecting. It's just everything is so virtual now, and there's just, and my advice and hope is that there's more getting together with people in your field, in your location, and meeting people face to face and asking questions. Like, don't stop asking questions. I mean, that's my rule of thumb just for myself. I always want to learn, even though I'm so busy outside of tattoo world. I know I have a million things that I would like to learn, or I hope that, there's a tattoo school at more ways to learn than is just apprenticeship based. I know that this is a hot topic in our industry. People have a lot of feelings about it, but it should be more accessible. And so just in so many ways for so many people. So maybe at some point I can bring that to the industry, but there should be more of that. Still very old school in terms of how people are being taught,
Mhm.
which is understandable because we're talking about blood and bodies and stuff. That's like my one critique of the of our industry, and something I wish for it to, hence the in-person school. Yeah, there should be more accessibility to this industry.
Well, those are all my questions. Do you have anything to add? Any topics about tattooing and gender?
I would like there to be some kind of resource where you can find other queer tattooers, like a website or something, or I don't know, something. If you ever find out about anything like that or start it yourself, I think that there should be more of a thoroughfare between like with queer artists from all over. I mean, just with your research, you've met so many people. I'm just curious if you're, what are you going to do with all the people and all
The
the,
Queercation website
yeah.
can be, we can,
Well, yeah, it needs to be something. You know what I mean? Like a
yeah.
something.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's been a total pleasure.
Thank you.